Welcome to Saturday Morning Classics. We are currently reading The Island by T.M. Wright, and I believe this is the last episode of that story. I think we can get through the rest of it today. So, go grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax, and enjoy the rest of the story. Chapter 9. Evening. "Do you see it?" asked Muriel Fox, and nodded at her window. She expected no answer. She got none. She went on excitedly. "The Christmas tree on the other side of the lake. It's a big one. They keep it lit right up until February. Where do they get the electricity?" "Propane." She had served tea. Her cup was half empty. The other was full, untouched. She picked up her cup, lifted it to her lips, hesitated. "Propane?" she asked. "Do you mean some kind of propane-powered generator?" There was no answer. She sipped her tea, eyes on the other's soft blue eyes, sitting across from her. She smiled. "I'm glad you've come back. I'm comfortable with you. You're easy to talk to." She sipped her tea, found it tepid, set the cup down. "I've had many lovers." She smiled as if embarrassed, though she wasn't. "That's quite a confession, isn't it? I mean, from someone you've known, what, a few days? But I've always believed that it's best to get all the cards on the table, to put our selves, to put our souls out front, where we can be seen for who we really are, not merely for what we want others to believe we are. Don't you agree?" She hurried on, not allowing time for an answer. "And so there I am, someone who loves to be loved, and loves to love, and I've had a lovely life, and that is the thing I most treasure, the people, the men," another false smile, "who have filled it up, like you." She paused, wanted an answer, wanted confirmation. Got nothing. She hurried on. "Two of my lovers had the same name. It was Stuart Hawkins, and I think they had the same middle name. They weren't related. They were nothing at all alike. Ah, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that they must have had something in common to qualify as my lovers. And you'd be right, of course. They were both dreamers. Propane! They dreamed of rising from the obscurity of their pasts. One did it. The other didn't. The other married someone named Caroline and went to live in Binghamton and sell appliances. That would be a hell of a way to live, to sell appliances. So much white, so much beige. She saw herself reflected in his eyes. She thought fleetingly that that was strange, as if his eyes were very, very large, mirror size. But that would be impossible. He would have to grow, would have to enlarge, to be the size of the room. "Tell me about yourself." "Well, you're a man of few words." She studied her reflection in the soft blue of his eyes, where her skin was soft blue, and the room behind her was soft blue, and her dark red dress bore a soft blue tint. "Do you like my dress?" she said. "It's very old. A former lover gave it to me." It was a romantic lie. He was a writer, and he liked to give women dresses. He went off to France. She pulled her gaze from him, and the room was soft blue. The night beyond the window was soft blue. "You've never told me your name." His name was Stuart Hawkins. He went to Binghamton. He sells appliances, white, beige, avocado appliances. She saw her hand, like a photograph of her hand, and she watched it reach in fits and starts for her cup of tea. "Chamomile tea," she said. "Chamomile tea." You make me cold. She brought the cup of tea to her lips, found it very hot, as if it were fire. She reached to set it down. She saw it leave her grasp, heard it clatter distantly to the floor. She leaned over, watched a dark, soft blue stain spread and stop and crystallize. She thought, "It has changed to ice." And as quickly as the thought came to her, it dissipated. She rose, she crossed the room, she stood by the closed door. She was remembering. The memories were real. She could touch them, listen to them. They spoke to her and wrapped themselves around her. Then she was watching them and was part of them. She was 9 years old, and the rough touch of gray barnwood was against her cheek, the sting of wind-driven snow on her forehead and on her small hands, her pleading whispers unheard even by herself. Overhead, the sunlight was gray-blue behind the onrush of snow. To her left, down a slope, not far, an opening to the barn, a way in, a place to huddle up against the cold, where there was the warmth and the living smell of animals. She cried out. She heard nothing, and all at once she did not care. She went to sleep and woke in bed, cold, forever cold. Francis Carden saw her open her door. He put a smile on. He had his Swiss Army knife in hand, had unscrewed some door hinges, screwed them back in, was looking for more. When she appeared from within her room, he said, "Hello, Muriel." He wondered, as he said it, about the onrush of cold air. She was a dozen feet away, her side to him, and her head down slightly, as if her gaze were on the floor. Francis repeated, "Hello, Muriel." Added, "Cold night. Is your room cold? Is the heat working?" She turned to look at him. His breathing stopped when her eyes fell on him. They were eyes as cold and dead as marbles, in a face that was translucent, like ice, so the rigid thrust of bone showed through. She said, "I am cold, forever cold." And her voice was without modulation, the voice of wind. Amy Glynn had Samantha in her arms. Samantha was dressed as if for a summer walk, in a pink dress and bonnet, and wrapped in a white receiving blanket. Amy said to Jeff, "I'm going to go out and look at the stars." Jeff wanted to protest, to reason with her. "No, it's too cold. Look how you've dressed her." He wanted to say that, but he could say nothing reasonable. He knew that it would be futile. He said, "No, you're not." And Amy opened the door and stepped out of the room. Jeff threw himself from the chair and went after her. He caught her a short way from the door. He whirled her around. She clutched the baby to her bosom. "You are not taking Samantha from me," she screamed. "And you're not going outside, damn it, not with my child." "It's my child," she hissed. "We're going to look at the stars." "No," Jeff insisted. Amy said nothing. "No," Jeff said again, more firmly. Amy said nothing. Jeff took her gently by the arm and coaxed her back into their room. She went to a chair with Samantha and rocked her. Then she slept, and her child slept. Harry Stans had gone directly to Lynette's room. He found Pete Jr. there, asleep. He found Pete Sr. there, too, smiling, flat-faced from his time underwater, gray teeth prominent beneath lips as thin and white as string. He was standing very still near the bed where his son lay, gray-black hair scattered everywhere on his head. He was leaning against a wall. The wall was beige, and in the light from the hallway, Harry saw that clumps of his hair clung wetly to it, where his head had turned left and right. His head turned now, but it was not a motion that said no. It was simply a motion, ball and socket joints rolling out of control. His shoulders rolled too, and his hands, as if he were getting ready to throw dice. The sound these motions made in that bone was low and rough, like a baseball bat being dragged on cement. Jean Ward stood at the lakeshore in front of the cabin she and her brother had shared. She remembered his walk into the lake, and she said, "Dave, I'm so sorry." She wasn't able to tell herself what she was sorry for, other than his death, the fact that he was gone from her life, and that was enough of a reason. It was good to talk in the cold darkness to dead loved ones. It was reasonable to expect that they were there, listening. "Dave," she said, merely to mouth his name. She liked saying it. The mere fact of it, the sound of it, gave her comfort. "Dave?" She had not always called him Dave. She had once called him Davy, though he was older, and it sounded strange for his younger sister to be calling him Davy. He'd told her that, and had said that she could call him Davy if she did it in private. So she did, for a while, but it was not the same. Davy in private was stranger, somehow, than Davy in public. So she started calling him Dave, which he preferred, and they got along as well as any brother and sister can get along. He took her to dances when no one else would ask her, because she was too pretty in a time when that was intimidating, sometimes even to big brothers. He took her to movies, too, and to museums, and on shopping expeditions. "Dave," she said, "I miss you." She realized that she meant it, and she was glad. The pain was gone, and she could miss him. There was ice at the shore. It was finger-thick, as wide as several sidewalks, and ragged at the edges because of a fitful breeze. Jean could see the ice because of a spot lamp on the main inn. All the spot lamps on the cottages had been turned off by Mr. Carden because no one was staying in the cottages any more. The ice was blue-black, and the water nearly the same deep, flat black as Dog Island a mile off. She was aware of the cold moving off the lake. The breeze carried it and augmented it. She looked up from the ice and saw the same Christmas tree, trimmed in 1,000 lights, 60 feet tall, a ritual at the lake, the same tree that Muriel Fox had seen. She could see a few other lights near it, the lights of cottages, a pair of moving lights visible intermittently. A car, she decided, and then she looked at the ice again. She saw a shape moving beneath it. She told herself it was a fish, though she knew that it wasn't. The shape moved back away from the light. Chapter 10. The Mosimans were like a dream of slow motion in Seventh Lake. Mary was pondering. "Then you love nothing," her father had told her. "If you love a ghost, then you love nothing." Mary repeated these words mentally again and again. They were reasonable. They made sense. She did not believe them, though she wanted to. She wanted to believe them very much because it was useless loving ghosts. Ghosts could not keep her warm in the night. They could not come into her little room and lean over and kiss her and pull the blanket up so it covered her neck, even when the night wasn't chilly. Ghosts could not talk with her and give her a sense of her own life. They could not lead her this way or that, except to the extent that they once had, except to the extent that her mother had told her such things. Your decisions are ultimately your own. Blame no one else for their consequences. And we must try to give back to this life more than it gives us. I'm not sure why. Perhaps because it owes us nothing. Because you loved the dead for such things lingered, like the final depression their bodies made in their deathbeds, or the bloodstains left on their clothes by the grappling hooks that pulled them up out of the water. Mary lit a cigarette. She coughed. She hated cigarettes. They made her throat itch, her hair smell, her breath foul at times. But habits were so much easier to keep than to break, even the ones that hurt. Her father knew that. Her father, who was so devoted to his own ghosts, so tied to the inn and to the ghosts that moved sullenly about inside it. The ghost of her mother, his wife, the ghost of himself, of his happiness before her death. Mary studied her cigarette. Its tip was a cool orange glow in the darkness of her room. She said, "It's simple, Daddy. You go up to her and you say, 'I am attracted to you.' She knows it already. She's not stupid." Mary took her eyes from the cigarette and looked out the window that overlooked the cabins lining the lake shore. The cabins were like squat, dark lumps. She thought about what great stillness and cold there was about them, and here, too, at the inn, and around the lake. She thought that was good for her now. She needed it. Then she thought, all at once, that her father would love being a ghost, would love being the ghost of the person he once was. She asked herself aloud, wouldn't anyone? The Mosimans moved through the cold darkness in the lake. They moved in the center between the surface and the stiff, rocky bottom. "Wouldn't want to have to look at your face at a time like that, darling," Pete Sr. said, and Lynette said, "I know, I'm sorry." And she was, because her face was pretty, but it was pinched by jowls and layered with fat, so the eyes were beginning to puff shut. In a few years, she would have a constant fat squint, and then he wouldn't want to make love to her at all. "But I do love you, darling," he said. She believed him. Why wouldn't he love her? She was a good person. She was a tireless worker, and she rarely lied, and she did harm to no one. He could love her as well as he could love any woman. "I love you too, Pete," she murmured in the cold dark near the lake shore. But he was gone then. He was moving out onto the lake, over the expanse of black, paper-thin ice, with his fishing pole in hand, and sitting down to enjoy himself with his friends gathered around him, to make filthy jokes about women who weren't their wives or mothers. It was part of his existence, part of what he loved. She watched him begin his wait. His friends would not arrive for a very long time. Harry Stans sat behind her, startling her. "Damn, woman, you're coming with me away from this damn place, and there ain't no two ways about it." She had the axe in her hand. She'd chopped the ice at the shore with it. She'd made a huge hole, and there was water sloshing gently in it under the breeze. She swung around with the axe and caught Harry Stans with the side of it against his head. He fell over silently, left hand to his head. He did not move. He lay on his side with his hand to his head, and he breathed raggedly, a gurgle erupting every now and then. At last, Lynette walked away from him and back to the inn. History, July 1979. "I'm sorry, Mr. Burge, but there was absolutely nothing anyone could have done. Believe me, you're blaming yourself without reason." "I brought her here." "Yes, sir, I'm sorry." "I brought her here to this place. I knew it would have her. I knew it would take her from me." Sir, my advice to you is this. You are stressed, sir, and under stress certain aberrations may seem very, very real. What is that? Aberration? Sir, I would say miscalculations of judgment. Do you understand? My miscalculation of judgment was to bring her here in the first place. This place has killed her. The Mossimans floated through the fluid, cold darkness. Ben was naked, and Anita was naked, and the children were dressed in their pajamas, all the same as when they had died. From above, the family might have looked like huge white fish moving just below the surface of thin ice at the center of the lake. On Dog Island, the geese had moved on, and though there were owls in the stands of pines that lined the lake shore, they did not hunt over ice. Others did, though. They sat with fishing poles ready and heads lowered, their shoulders hunched up against the cold, while the Mossimans moved silently in the cold, fluid darkness below. Book 3, The Focus of Bad News. Turmoil, Mary realized. There was turmoil happening inside her. She stood. The room was very cold. She shivered, hugged herself for warmth, went to the closet, got her coat from it, put it on. She flicked on the overhead light to augment the light on the desk near her bed. She needed light in the room, she told herself. Light was warmth. She went into the bathroom, turned the light on, went back to the bedroom, gazed up at the overhead. It was very dim. Only one light working, she guessed. She brought the desk chair over, stood on it, unscrewed the globe from around the overhead, tossed the globe onto the bed. She looked at the light fixture. There were 3 bulbs. 2 were working. She unscrewed the bad one, stepped down from the chair. She hesitated, stared confusedly at the bad bulb, set it down, went to the door, flicked the overhead light off, went to the bathroom, turned the light off, went to the desk, turned the light off. She sat on the edge of her bed in the cold darkness. She felt herself being touched in the cold darkness. It was because I loved you, Arnaud said. He got no answer. We do things. We live. In this life, we do things, and they have pressure, effect on other people, even when we love them. It was because I loved you that I did it. Still, he got no answer. I wanted to be with you. He took no notice of the fact that words were coming easily to him, that he wasn't tripping over his tongue as he usually did. So I brought you here, and here you were, and then it took you. He nodded to indicate the lake beyond the window. He felt himself being touched in the darkness, felt a very cold hand on his back, felt it being taken away. He turned, looked. You were always being taken away from me. He saw Martha's face as if it were real, as if he could touch it, and he leaned over and kissed the air near him, felt the warmth of her cheek as if she had turned her head to meet him. Then he felt the cold of her lips on his. He hesitated, wanted desperately to enjoy it, wanted desperately to find in it what he had always found in her kisses. Then he recoiled. At the edges of Seventh Lake, the Mossimans moved very slowly, found the break in the ice that Lynette Meyer had made for them, and went up, through it, onto the land. The memories swimming inside them were like scenes in a kaleidoscope. The Mossimans stayed very still. Their eyes sought the light, because light was warmth, and life was warmth. The lights of the inn fell on them, They started toward it. Their feet moved as silently as air over the thick covering of snow on the lake shore. Muriel Fox felt the rough scrape of gray barnwood on her cheek. She felt the sting of wind-driven snow on her forehead, and when she dared to open her eyes against it, she saw the opening just below, where the animals were, and warmth and survival. But she could not move. Her limbs refused the commands of her brain. She wanted only to sleep. She could no longer feel the cold. She felt, instead, a strange tingling coolness and comfort, as if she were very tired and under freshly washed sheets on a warm day. She closed her eyes. She heard very distantly, as if she were hearing words she had once read being repeated in her memory. "I don't know, my God, I don't know, help me." And then another voice, a man's voice. "I'm coming after you. Don't move from where you are. There's a drop-off. Do you understand me? There's a drop-off." "No, my feet won't." The smell and the warmth of animals below, through the opening into the darkness below. "Muriel, for God's sake, help me, please help me." The sting of snow, the comfort of crisp sheets on a warm day. "Please help me, help me." "I'm coming after you, Muriel, I'm coming." The smell of the animals in the opening below, the warmth of the animals, the refuge from the stinging cold in the opening below. "You're moving away from me. Don't move away from me. I can't swim, Muriel. I can't swim." A tingling coolness and comfort, as if she were very tired and under crisp sheets on a warm day. "Muriel, stay where you are. Stay there." She was enveloped by it. "Muriel, for pity's sake." It wrapped her up. I can't, and carried her off. And she was there, with the warmth of the animals, with the warmth and smell of the animals, sleeping at peace. Francis Carden stood with his eyes on the spot where Muriel had gone into the lake. He glanced quickly, in confusion, back at the inn, to his left, at the boat dock, to his right, at the squat, dark cottages 100 yards off. He looked again at the spot where Muriel had gone into the lake. He whispered after her, at the black water moving sullenly about in the hole her body had made in the thin ice. "I can't swim, Muriel. I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry." A quivering, self-incriminating grin spread across his mouth. He shook his head. "I just can't swim." Lynette Meyer was on her way down the lake shore toward her cottage with Pete Jr. and Jolene and Pete Sr. They were going to have a picnic. Pete Sr. was grumbling that men didn't go on picnics, but she knew that he was putting on a show for his son. "What good's a picnic, huh? Tell me that." And he nodded at Pete Jr. "You listen now, boy." He looked at Lynette. "I asked you what good's a picnic except to get bitten by mosquitoes and bees and to get ants on your food. Tell me what good a damn picnic is, Lynette." "Well, I will tell you," she said. "It's so's you can be under the sunlight and in the warm air. That's what it's good for, so you won't be so damn pale. My God, sometimes I think you're a sheet. And besides, food tastes real good on a picnic. Don't you think so, Pete Jr.?" But he was saying nothing, and Lynette guessed that he was being smart, being silently agreeable to his father, that he knew what side his bread was buttered on. "And I say it's a crock," Pete Sr. protested. "It's a damn crock. Here, give me that, woman." And he reached out and took the picnic basket from her. She smiled at him and said, "Thanks, Pete. It was getting heavy, and he said, "'Tain't the only thing," and gave her a quick once-over. Her smile flattened because she agreed, but could not bring herself to admit it. They came upon a recently dead carp on the shore. It was very large, the size of a dog, Pete Sr. said, and Pete Jr. readily agreed, having had fun poking sticks at such amazing creatures when he'd found them on lone walks along the lake shore. "Big's a dog," he said, "big's a Dalmatian," which was a breed he knew well because the only book in his personal library was 101 Dalmatians. Lynette said, "It's disgusting, and we're going to detour around it." She did. With Jolene in tow, she stepped wide around it so she had to walk in the water while her son and husband looked at her with wide, amused grins on their mouths. She pointed at Dog Island. It was visible this spring afternoon as a green hump halfway across the lake on the horizon. "Very pretty, ain't it?" she said. Pete Jr. said, "It's like a sea monster come up out of the water." "What's a sea monster?" Jolene asked, looking first at him, then at the island, then back at him. Lynette said, "It's only a island. Ain't a sea monster. Ain't no such things as sea monsters." "Who says?" asked Pete Sr. "You're going to scare these two kids, you keep that up," said Lynette. "I'm going to scare a lot of people," said Pete Sr. The island started to move out of the water very slowly, like the round and moving belly of some sleeping giant. The water at its edges cascaded off in white fury. Its rocky underside appeared. A great wave started and careened toward the little family out on their picnic walk. "We have to go," Jeff Glynn said. Amy Glynn, in a rocking chair near the bed, gave him an inquisitive smile. "Go? Where? I like it here." Her smile stopped. "You go." He shook his head. "Not that again. Amy, there is something wrong here. Can't you feel it?" He shook his head again, stared at the ceiling. "Of course not. You're part of it." "I'm part of nothing, dear," she said. "Part of nothing. I like it here. It's comfortable. I feel safe. I feel at peace." He sighed. "That is bullshit." "Listen," Amy said. "I didn't want you to come along in the first place." "I'm aware of that." "But you did. You always do what displeases me, and you never, ever, ever listen. Well, listen now, sweetheart, because I've got something very important to say to you." She paused very briefly. Then, "I have a friend." Jeff's mouth fell open. "A friend?" "A male friend." "A male friend? What, do you have echolalia? For the first time in our relationship, you start listening to me, and when you do, you repeat everything I say. Yes, a male friend. A good, kind, gentle man." "It's Arnaud Burge, isn't it, that bastard?" "It's not Arnaud." "Who then? Who is it?" "I don't know." Jeff's face grew quizzical. Then he smiled as if relieved. "Oh, I understand now. This is a fantasy. You're telling me about one of your fantasies." She shook her head. "He's no fantasy, Jeff. He's as real, well, as real as you are, more real than you, because he listens to me." Jeff harumphed. "This is fine. This is great. Here we sit, the happy couple. Finances are good. We've got a nice home, a wonderful child, and here we sit talking about some lover you've got." "He's not my lover." "Oh, sure, and the moon is made of green cheese." "He listens to me. He listens, and he doesn't interrupt. He's kind, he's gentle. And what does that mean?" What does that mean? Gentle? It means he's gentle looking. Gentle looking? Jeff threw himself forward in his chair. He clasped his hands in front of him, planted his elbows on his knees, stared hard at the floor. What is it, Amy? Is it me? Is it something I've done? Yes, said Amy. He looked at her, flabbergasted. Yes? Of course it's you. Who else would it be? You don't care about me. You never did. That's not true. But all that's moot now. I want you to go. I'm expecting him any moment now. Sorry, Jeff said, giving her an exasperated smile. You're expecting him? Expecting who? Your lover? I don't believe this. I told you, and I meant it. He is not my lover. He's old enough, for God's sake. He's old enough to be my great-grandfather. My grandfather, anyway. And you don't even know his name? Who needs names? He listens to me. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not going. She shrugged. Okay, then, stay. Is he a guest here, Amy? Is your lover registered here at the inn? I assume so. There was a knock at the door. Jeff's head snapped toward it, then back at Amy. I'm going to tell him you're not here. He'll know better. She gave him a smug smile. Amy, this is ridiculous. Another knock. This is beyond ridiculous. You can't have a lover. My God, we have a house together, a life together, a child together. I don't have a lover. I have a friend. Another knock. Jeff got up, shoved his hands into his pockets. He shook his head. I'm confused, darling. I should want to beat the hell out of him. No, you shouldn't, and you mustn't. It would be cruel. He's old, as I said. Another knock. Then quickly, another. Jeff looked pleadingly at Amy. Can you tell him to go away? Can you do that? Why? He's my friend. Go let him in. I can't let him in. I won't. Another knock. Jeff started to the door. He stopped, looked back. There was another knock. I'm sorry if I'm acting, strange about this. I know I should be more assertive, more manly. She laughed quickly. But it's true, he said. Nothing's true. Everything changes. She nodded. Go open the door. He looked blankly at her for a few moments. Then he went and opened the door. Arnaud was standing there. He looked wild-eyed. I need your help, he said. Please help me. History. Mary, honey, it's your mother. It's Martha. Yes, Daddy, what about her? I just talked to her. We were going to play tennis. Something's happened, Mary. Something awful. Something I prayed would never happen, but it has, because I brought her here, and now this place has taken her, and it will take us all. Mary Burge watched as a tear stained the diary page. At the top of the page she had written, The Events of a Day in July. Below that, in smaller, very fastidiously formed letters, The Death of Martha Burge by Accident. It was a week after her mother's death, and Mary was putting down what she could remember. The conversation with her father was first, though the words she was using were not his words. They were the paraphrase of his words. Trying to remember exactly what he had said, she thought, would be like trying to remember the precise solution to a complicated maze. She wondered now, as she often did, what kind of mind he had that could make such mincemeat of the language he had grown up with. Damn him, she thought, surprising herself. She added to the page, Your mother has been drowned in the lake, daughter. The lake has filled her up and caused her death. That, Mary knew, was verbatim. She could not help but remember it any other way. And so, with that taken care of, she could note more mundane things. Day partially cloudy, warm, several deer flies buzzing. A man appeared from his room in his underwear when Mother was brought in. He stood in his underwear for a long time, watching. I wanted to yell at him to go away and put clothes on, but I knew that would just attract attention to him, so I stayed quiet. The boat that brought Mother in was blue and white. It had a cracked windshield and a very big outboard motor with the name Evinrude on it in gold. When it brought Mother in, a seaplane flew over low and tilted its wings. The seaplane was green. It flew on to the island at the center of the lake. It disappeared beyond the island. The name of the man who flies this plane is Mr. Darby. Mother's face was an awful white, the color of restaurant plates. She looked like wax. She looked like she was a Cupid doll, and I remembered when I saw her that she used to nod at women who looked like Cupid dolls, and she used to say, "That woman looks like a Cupid doll." Now Mom does. Daddy has been dragging himself from here to there this past week, as if it is a great, great effort that he would rather not do. He misses her terribly. Arnaud was standing at the door. "Look for who?" said Jeff Glenn. "Jean Ward," Arnaud answered. "She's outside." "So? She's in danger." Jeff stared dumbly at Arnaud for a few moments. Clearly the man was in distress, but just as clearly he was making no sense at all. "How?" Jeff asked. "The lake," Arnaud answered. "She went into the lake?" Arnaud nodded quickly. "I think so." He stopped nodding, put a hand hard on Jeff's arm, looked him squarely in the eye. "The lake wants her. It wants us all, our humanity, ourselves. It creates, it holds us." Jeff grinned nervously. "Sure," he said. "It has always wanted us." Jeff nodded. Yes," he said. "Always," insisted Arnaud. They heard a scream. Arnaud cocked his head towards its source, the area of the lake shore. "Martha," he whispered. History, September 1979. Mary writes in her diary, 2 months. The trees are changing, becoming gold and red. It's happening early this year. Daddy prays. I don't know if it's really prayer. He's not a religious person. I don't think it's really prayer. I think it's something else, like wishing. He's wishing for Mother to come back. He stands alone in the gazebo and looks out at the lake. Then he mumbles to himself with his head down, like someone praying. He does this at night, late, when the people staying here are mostly asleep. But I see him. I can't hear any words. I leave my window open. I can see the gazebo from it. I'm pretty close to it. I leave my window open because he would hear me open it otherwise. But when I watch and listen, I only hear him mumble, and it makes me sad. It's been 2.5 months after the accident. Daddy said to me, "Lakes are for wishing, daughter." He smiled like he was keeping a secret. Then he said, "And islands are for wishing on." Chapter 3. The entity that had once been Catherine Mosiman settled into Amy Glynn. The entity that had been Max Mosiman settled into Samantha. And the entity that had been Anita Mosiman looked on, pleased that its children were warm once again. They settled in as unobtrusively as a dormouse settling into its winter nest. Their hosts noticed little. a sudden chill, as if a door had been opened and then quietly closed, a queer shifting of the light, as if their eyes possessed a nictitating membrane, as the eyes of snakes do. And it had come down. Then the light returned to normal. And now there was warmth, there was life, and they could go home. Amy Glenn looked at Samantha asleep in her arms. She smiled. What greater joy was there in life than to watch her infant sleep? She wondered what dreams a creature so young could have, if any at all, and she cooed, "What do you dream of, baby dear?" The idea came to her all at once that Samantha might dream of floating in the waters of the womb, where there was constant food and warmth, and where there were no questions and no concerns, where time saw only the sprouting of fingers and toes, where the quick tapping of her heart was not a measurement of slow death, but of growth toward life, where there were no needs, and there was no cold, no crying, no sucking desperately at the air where a nipple should be. "Is that what you dream of, baby dear?" Amy whispered, "The waters of the womb?" She smiled in apology. "I can't put you there. I'm sorry." But they could go home to their house on the island. Then it struck her how ironic it was that the waters of the womb were the source of life, that the waters of the womb gave life and nurtured it, and that the cold waters of the earth did the same, that they teemed with life and were so necessary, so indispensable to life itself, to her, to Jeff, to Samantha. She watched Samantha bring a clenched fist up to her face, watched her closed eyes shut very tightly for a moment, then watched, relieved, as she relaxed. Amy shook her head. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Was that a dream of death? A tear formed in her eye and dropped to Samantha's pink receiving blanket. Another tear formed. She brushed it away. What can I do for you, my child? She said softly. What can I give you but insecurity and tears and cold? Inside her, the entity which had once been Catherine Mosiman stretched out to the length of cities, the breadth of clouds, the weight of dust. And the entity which had once been Anita Mosiman looked on, pleased, expectant, warm with love. Amy stood. Better not to dream of death, she whispered to her daughter. Better to dream of the waters of the womb. She started for the door. She stopped halfway. She cocked her head. There was a mirror positioned obliquely to her left, and she could see 3 people in it. She saw herself, and she saw Samantha. She saw the face and naked body of Anita Mosiman, and she said, I know who that is. She smiled at her reflection. She said, It is myself. Samantha let out a short, high-pitched cry, as if she were being pinched. Amy looked at her. A tiny balloon of spittle appeared on the child's lips and was quickly withdrawn on an inhale. She would be waking soon, Amy realized. She was beginning to fuss, beginning to slide out of her awful dreams and back to the real world, where death waited to lie across her face and take her breath away. Amy shook her head. We can't have that. The waters of the earth will soothe you again, baby dear. Because what difference was there, really, between the waters of the womb and the waters of the earth? None. Only a difference of place and temperature. She went to the door, opened it, went down the hallway to the exit door, opened it, felt a slap of cold air on her face, hugged her infant daughter tightly to her breast. From the darkness beyond, she was aware of voices shouting, and dimly she knew that one of the voices was Jeff's. She stepped out of the inn. She whispered to her child, The waters of the earth will soothe you. baby dear. Lynette Meyer could not see Arnaud's face well. Light from the inn was feeble here, at the far end of the line of cottages. It was a dull blue-black, the color of the lake itself. His face, she thought, looked like the mask of a face. His mouth was open, and words were coming out, but his lips did not appear to be moving. His eyes were wide and large, but they were black ovals in the rectangle of his head. He had grabbed her hard by the shoulders, and she had told him several times, "You get your hands off of me." "Where is Martha? Where is Martha?" he asked again and again. "You get your hands off of me," Lynette told him again. She still had the axe in her left hand, its head pointed down. She realized that she was not far from using it on this man who had had the balls to grab hold of her. "I'm not trying to hurt you," he said. "Well, I sure as hell am gonna hurt you." "No need," he said. "Martha came out here. Martha, my wife. You've seen her?" "I ain't seen her." He paused. His grip weakened on her shoulders. "The lake wants her. It took her once. Now it will take her again. I know this." "You don't know shit, Mr. Burge. It ain't the damn lake. It's the damn island." She twisted away from him. She lifted her right hand so it was pointing in the general direction of Dog Island. "It's that damn island, Mr. Burge. It's the damn island. It's always been the damn island. That's what killed your wife, Mr. Burge. That's what killed those poor people. That damn island is alive. It wants whatever it can get. It makes ghosts." He shook his head. "No, you're wrong. That is at right angles with—" She swung at him with the side of the axe. The flat blade clipped him on the chin. He went down on his knees. She stared at him a moment. "It's the damn island, Mr. Burge," she whispered. He fell face forward into the snow-covered sand. Lynette walked very slowly, with purpose, axe swinging gently, toward the inn. Arnaud awakened an hour later in what he saw as sunlight on what he felt as warm sand. He heard what he supposed were the muted sounds of his guests enjoying themselves on the beach. He sat up. He saw people swimming, 2 small girls being watched over by their mother, hovering close by, a boy in his teens doing the back float. The boy was out farther than was safe, Arnaud thought, and wondered if Barbara, the lifeguard and water-skiing instructor, would call to him to come back in. Near the boy, a blonde woman was doing a skillful breaststroke that was leading her in Arnaud's direction. Arnaud watched her, pleased by the fluidity of her motions. He folded his knees up to his chest, clasped his hands in front. "That's far enough, young man," he heard. He looked. He saw a stout woman in a tight red swimsuit pointing stiffly at the boy who was doing a back float. "Do you hear me, Richard? Richard, answer me now, young man, or so help me, I'm going to go and call your father." Richard glanced over, waved, turned around, and started to swim back. Near the stout woman, a tall, slightly built young woman, wearing a pair of jeans and a cream-colored blouse, was carrying her infant into the water. That's strange, Arnaud thought, because the woman was wearing shoes. He watched as she waded into the water, hesitated, looked back, waded further in, stopped again. The water was at her knees now. And then she smiled at a man running toward her. The man was shouting, "Amy, no! Amy, stop!" Arnaud turned his attention back to the woman swimming. Only her head was visible now. She was treading water, Arnaud supposed. The sunlight on the water behind her made her face only a mask of darkness, but Arnaud supposed that she was looking at him. She disappeared. Arnaud pushed himself to his feet. To his left, the man who was running shouted, "Amy, what in the name of heaven are you doing?" Arnaud walked slowly toward the beach. "Martha?" he whispered. The woman reappeared in the water, her arms flailing. Arnaud ran. "Martha!" he screamed. Beneath him, the warm sand changed to snow. "Martha!" He got to the beach, ran through the shallows, through the thin ice, dove in. He began to swim, his eyes on the woman all the while, sunlight dappling the water around her. She went under again, came up, went under. He heard from behind him on the shore, "I'll help you, Jeff, I'll help you." Then a woman's voice, "God, oh my God, help us." "I'm coming, Amy. Don't let go of Samantha. Don't let go. Don't let go." Arnaud continued swimming. His strokes were quick, graceful, strong through the frigid water. Above him, the sunlit sky became cold and star-filled. "She stopped," he heard. Then, "I've got them. I've got Amy and Samantha. Thank God, I've got them. They're safe." The heat left Arnaud's body quickly. The frigid water sapped his strength. His strokes grew slow and awkward. His hands slapped onto an area of thin ice, but he pressed on. From behind, from the dark shore, he heard, "Arnaud, come back!" His strokes stopped. He went under, came up, began to swim again, his eyes on the woman ahead of him in the water, her face masked by the night. "Arnaud, please, come back! We can't come after you!" It was Francis Cardin's voice. Arnaud went under. He felt hands on him, felt the water close over him. "Martha!" he screamed, far, far back in his consciousness. "I'm coming to you, Martha." Too many hands, he realized. There were too many hands on him, more than simply Martha's. A world full of hands. Light from the inn filtered dimly through the dark water. He saw two faces before him, each a flat, white, nearly featureless mask. He opened his mouth to speak, to say his wife's name again. Water flooded into his lungs. He hung suspended between the surface and the bottom of the lake for 1 minute, 2 minutes, aware of the hands on him, aware that life was leaving him, until at last there was only one pair of hands, and they caressed him and tugged him gently away toward the island. Chapter 4. At first, Mary Burge wanted an end to it. She wanted it all sewn up, wanted it concluded. She wanted a corpse to view and wanted to weep over it. Then she could put it to rest. But she couldn't put it to rest. There was no corpse to view and weep over. Wherever it rested beyond the view of her eyes. So it beckoned to her when she thought about it, and she thought about it often. She couldn't help it. She spoke to her father, and he spoke back. She told him that his words made a Ruby Goldberg kind of mess of the language. He told her that he didn't know who Ruby Goldberg was. Then he evaporated. Sometimes she reached for him to touch him, but she never succeeded. She went to the island early the next autumn, after she had closed the inn. She walked the paths that Ben and Anita Mosiman had walked, and Max and Joe Archer and Catherine and Linda Kennedy and her husband. She grew to wonder about the place because she felt it hugging her just as it had hugged the others. She grew to wonder about herself, too, about her grief, about wishing, loving, and about living, and about her father, whether she had ever really known him or ever really could have known him, whether he would not always be a mystery to her and she to him, whether he wasn't an island, too. She spoke to him often about these things, but he spoke to her only once, with the voice of air and memory. "The earth promises life," he said, his words slow and clear and perfect. All we have is life. And after a while, as the island continued to hug her, she grew to believe it. Well, that is the end of that story. And next weekend, we'll be starting a new one. So I hope you will join me then. Have a great week, everyone.